Hey guys, it's Mrs. Stevenson, ready for Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is testing 1, 2, 3. The rest of the day went off pretty smooth. We managed to survive another meal at the toxic waste site. I managed to stay out of Gary's way, and that evening Dale even managed to give a pretty good talk. Don't get me wrong, it was still about wisdom and stuff, but somehow it started to make more sense. Mostly it was about how it's wise to choose good friends. Be with wise men and become wise, he read from somewhere in the Bible. Be with evil men and become evil. Like I said, it made pretty good sense. Of course, I wanted to add a couple of my own verses, like be with dorkoids and become a dorkoid. Be with Gary the gorilla and become dead. But seriously, Dale had a point. Since you become like the people you hang out with, why not hang out with the good guys? Plain and simple, right? I just wished I could have remembered how plain and simple it was a couple of hours later. Wall Street had come over to our cabin. The three of us sat out on the porch and talked about a lot of nothing. But that's okay. Sitting around talking about a lot of nothing with friends is a lot better than talking about a lot of something with strangers. Whatever that means. Anyway, everyone else was down at the snack bar trying to wash the taste of dinner out of their mouths. Or they were up at the video games trying to save the universe from the latest space droids. Then, of course, there were the usual handful who were somewhere out in the bushes. But not us. We were having an in depth conversation about a major world problem: what we were going to wear on the canoe trip. When suddenly the bushes near the cabin started to rustle. Did you hear that? Wall Street asked, lowering her voice. We nodded in silence. The rustling grew louder. Do you think it's him? I whispered. Don't don't be crazy, Opera stuttered. Great. Then if it's not him, why don't you go out and see who it is? I suggested. Opera gave me a glare. Now, by him, we're talking about the local Camp Mauler. I suppose every camp has one. You know, some local monster who lurks in the woods just past the lights. Usually they're big and hairy and just dying to gobble up poor, unsuspecting kids who haven't gotten back to their cabin by lights out. Of course, we all knew it was make believe, probably created by the counselors to keep everyone in bed. So, of course, none of us were really frightened of him. But still, when it comes to monsters, you can never be too careful. There was more rustling and now some cracking of twigs. He was nearly on top of us. No doubt about it. One more step and we'd be some monster's late night snack. At last the time came. I could wait no longer. I mean, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. I grabbed my hands, squeezed hard, and began to crack my knuckles. My friends scowled at me. But I had no choice. When I get nervous, I crack my knuckles. It's like a habit or something. It's also the best relaxer there is. Forget about the tranquilizers. Forget about the self help books. Forget the counseling sessions. Just take up knuckle cracking. Snap, pop, snap, pop, snap, pop. Wall Street and Opera kept glaring. I mean, if looks could kill, I'd be dead. But before they could decide on the method of execution, the bushes finally flew apart, and suddenly, in all his awesomeness, appeared Jimmy Jack Huxterly. Hey, McDougal, my man, he said, shaking the pine needles from his oily black hair. How's it going? Jimmy Jack, I sighed in relief. It's only you. I knew Jimmy Jack from school, and though he wasn't the monster we feared, I should have been more careful. You see, wherever he went, Jimmy Jack was bad news. It's not that he was a bully or anything like that. In fact, he was one of the few people in the world shorter than me. But Jimmy Jack Huxterly had a reputation. A reputation as wide as the gap between his front teeth. Jimmy Jack was always on the make, selling this, selling that, making this deal, making that deal. Nothing wrong with that. But somehow Jimmy Jack always got the better end of the deal, even if it meant a little lying. Even if it meant a lot of lying. The point is, people always felt ripped off by Jimmy Jack Huxterly, and for good reason. They usually were. McDougal, listen. He glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Since Opera and Wall Street were dorkoids, I guess he figured they didn't count. There's been a lot of talk in camp tonight. About what? About you standing up to the gorilla. Hey, I didn't do that on purpose. That was just an accident. No, he interrupted. I don't mean today. I mean in the future. I mean for you to stand up to the gorilla for the rest of us and put a stop to him. What do you mean, the rest of us? The campers, man, all of us. That creep's got us all under his thumb, making us work for him like slaves. So? So we need a leader like you to rally the troops and stop him. Right, me, the leader. No, I'm serious, man. The guy's a disease, and you're the cure. You've been watching too many movies, Jimmy Jack. I knew I shouldn't trust this guy. Nobody could. Still, if only a few of the kids believed what he said they believed, well, that was still kind of neat. In fact, it was so neat that I started to forget what Dale had said. Something about watching who we hang out with, wasn't it? Probably. But at that moment, I couldn't exactly remember, and the more I listened to Jimmy Jack, the more I forgot. That was my first mistake, but not my last. Listen to me. Jimmy Jack lowered his voice and moved a little closer like we were suddenly best of friends. We need you, man. If enough of us get behind you, and with me at your side, we could exterminate this insect once and for all. For the next half hour, Jimmy Jack kept working on me. Talk about insects. This guy was like a pesky fly. No matter how many times I waved him away, he just kept coming back. Of course, I didn't say yes to his offer. That would have been crazy. But by the end of the evening, I wasn't exactly saying no either. And that was mistake number 2. Later, as I lay in bed, I reached for Betsy and snapped her on. I hoped getting back to Mutant Man would help her clear my mind. So now we're switching to his story that he's writing. When we last left our huggably handsome and perfectly straight-toothed hero, he was about to make an impression upon the Bank of Africa. A big impression, like with his whole body. But suddenly, an incredible idea comes to his magnificently mighty mind. He lets go of the helicopter and falls faster than a kid's smile after learning he's having liver and onions for dinner. Faster and faster he falls, and then faster some more. But Mutant Man is not worried. Why should he be? After all, he's already read the story. He knows that just 30 feet below are his 2 faithful sidekicks, Opera and Wall Street. Disguised as window washers, they've been waiting on their washing platform for hours just in case something like this should happen. Kabang! Crash! Crack! Our hero hits the platform hard, but this is no time to count broken legs or necks. Mutant Man has a world to save, and as usual, he'll save it magnificently. Faster than you can say, "Oh no, what's he up to?" Mutant Man shouts, "Quick! Plan number 243 and a half!" Now, as everyone knows, plan number 243 and a half is the plan for changing window washing platforms into supersonic jet fighters. An impossibility? Perhaps for you, my dear untrained reader, but not for the likes of Great Opera and Wall Street. After all, changing window washing platforms into jet fighters was one of the first things they learned while at Mutant Man's School of Superherohood. Soon, the puny platforms transformed into an awesome airplane, complete with salted peanuts and in-flight movie for longer trips. "Oh no!" Opera suddenly screams. "We forgot the engine!" "Don't worry," Wall Street shouts as she begins digging in her purse. Instantly, she pulls out a portable hairdryer. "A perfect engine," Mutant Man cries. "Strap it onto the back." In no time flat, our hero is ready. He revs his engine up to super blow and roars in the wild blue yonder, leaving his 2 super helpers behind. Dr. Ghastly is overhead. If Mutant Man can just get closer, if he can just get the wisdom sucker upper into his sights and blow a hole in it, then all the wisdom would fall back into the earth where it belongs. An easy plan, right? Unfortunately, there's a fly in the ointment. Literally. No one saw the little fly sneak on board. But then again, we're not just talking any fly here. We're talking the world-famous Jimmy Jack Jive Fly. As a visitor from the planet Make Us a Deal, this little alien quickly became a friend of used car salesmen and politicians around the world. And for good reason. Talk about a fast talker. I mean, this guy could sell you anything, even the shirt off his back. And that's a neat trick, since flies never wear shirts, usually just pullover sweaters. And neater still, because if they did wear shirts, they'd all have 6 sleeves in them, and what could you do with a 6-sleeve shirt anyway? Psst! Hey, Mutant Man! Mutant Man! Unfazed by his new companion, Mutant Man does his best to be polite. "Oh, it's you. I'm sorry, Mr. Jivefly, but I haven't time to talk. You see, at the moment, I'm busy saving the world. But this is important, really important. I'm sure it is, but I already have a closet full of 6-sleeve sweaters. I really don't need any. No, man, I'm talking about old Ghastly up ahead. Our hero does his best to ignore the insect, but the little bug just keeps on bugging him. For just $29.95, I'll sell you this new and improved hyperspace map. It shows how to time warp around Jupiter and be at Dr. Ghastly's side in seconds flat. But Mutant Man is no fool. $29.95, I can get it at half that at Walmart. All right, I'll give it to you at half price, but only because we're almost at the end of this chapter and don't have time to argue. Sold. In a flash, Mutant Man hands over the money and enters the new coordinates, and in a flashier flash, they are lost somewhere around the moons of Jupiter. Well, not really they, more like he. You see, old Jimmy Jack Jive Fly bailed out at the last second. He knew Mutant Man wouldn't be thrilled to learn he'd only bought half a map. And as we all know, you only get halfway with half a map. But at half price, what did the guy expect? So now our hero is stranded at the outer edges of the solar system. Oh no! What will he do? How will he ever get home? And most importantly, what will that in-flight movie? Will that in-flight movie be any good? Then suddenly, now we're back to the real story. Okay, McDougal, lights out. It sounded like the cabin counselor meant business, so I closed old Betsy's lid, pulled up the covers, and stared at the ceiling. Of course, I wouldn't be able to sleep. How could I? The real Jimmy Jack's words still rang in my mind. Who knows? Maybe I could be a hero. Maybe I could free the camp from an awful dictator-like rule of Gary the Gorilla. That's the end of chapter 3. Chapter 4 is More Wisdom Bites the Dust. So we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.